The Galactic Federation high chamber hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of 100 different species murmuring in their native tongues. Holographic displays flickered above the central table, projecting star maps and defense reports in shifting colors. The air carried the sharp tang of ionized metal beneath the heavier, muskier scents of alien pheromones. Some sweet, some acrid, all mixing into an oppressive cloud that made human eyes water. Admiral Kira Vasquez didn't blink. She sat perfectly still at the massive, crescent-shaped table, her back straight, her hands resting lightly on the polished surface. The scar cutting across her left cheek, a relic from the Battle of Proxima, itched under the harsh glow of the chamber's lighting, but she ignored it. Around her, the Federation's most powerful leaders lounged, slithered, or hovered in their designated seats. Zapirian High Chancellor Vexler occupied the space to her immediate left, his cobalt exoskeleton gleaming under the lights. His four manipulator arms twitched in what humans had learned was amusement. "Admiral Vasquez," he said, his voice a series of clicks and modulated harmonics. "Your petition for a defensive pact is quaint." A ripple of laughter spread through the chamber. Kira didn't react. She had expected this. At the far end of the table, Vorac War Master Droth slammed a clawed fist down, the impact cracking the reinforced surface. Bioluminescent veins pulsed beneath his thick hide, flaring crimson with aggression. "Quaint," he snarled. "It's pathetic." His massive frame leaned forward, the bulk of his armor scraping against the table. "Your species is soft, human. Your history is written in your own blood. You think the Federation should waste resources protecting you?" Kira exhaled slowly. "Earth isn't asking for protection," she said, her voice calm. "We're offering a warning." More laughter. Vexler's mandibles clicked. "A warning from you." One of his upper arms gestured toward the holographic display, where a rotating image of Earth's defense grid flickered. "Your orbital platforms are decades behind standard. Your fleet couldn't repel a pirate raid, let alone a coordinated assault." Kira's fingers twitched just once. "Appearances can be deceiving," Droth snorted. A wet, guttural sound. "We've seen your deceptions. Your so-called warships are glorified cargo haulers with guns bolted on. Your soldiers die to weather." A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Zelnara delegate, their translucent skin shimmering with amusement, leaned in. "Admiral, perhaps you should reconsider your position. The Federation has no interest in expending resources on a species that refuses to evolve." Kira's gaze didn't waver. "We evolved just fine." Silence then, laughter louder this time. Vexler rose, his exoskeleton flexing as he addressed the chamber. "The Zapirian conclave moves to reject Earth's petition. The humans are not a priority species." Droth bared his teeth. The Vorac Concord seconds the motion. One by one, the other delegates signaled their agreement. The holographic display above the table shifted, tallying the votes in real time. The result was unanimous. Kira didn't move. The Federation speaker, a towering, multi-limbed being with no discernible face, spoke in a voice like grinding stone. "The motion carries. Earth's request for a defensive pact is denied." Kira stood, every eye in the chamber followed her as she straightened her uniform jacket. "Then this session is concluded," Droth sneered. "Run home, little human. Pray we don't decide your world is worth harvesting." Kira turned. For the first time since entering the chamber, she smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "You're welcome to try." She walked out without another word. Behind her, the laughter started again. Louder, crueler. They didn't see the data chip hidden in her palm. They didn't see the message already sent, and they certainly didn't see what was waiting for them. The void between Mars and Jupiter shimmered like disturbed water, space twisted, rippled, then tore open in a jagged purple wound. The Zapirian battle fleet claw of Vexler slid into reality, their black scythe, shaped destroyers gliding forward with predatory grace. Plasma coils along their hulls pulsed violet, charging. Targeting arrays flickered to life, painting the red curve of Mars below in crosshairs. Commander Elias Carter exhaled slowly, watching the tactical feed from the Olympus Mons defense station. His missing fingers, lost to the Titan Wars, itched inside his glove. Right on schedule, he muttered around Mars. Human satellites spun lazily. Mining drones drifted. The orbital traffic control beacon blinked a steady, passive green. On the bridge of the Zapirian flagship Razor's Kiss, Battlemaster Clickster flexed his 4 manipulator arms. His exoskeleton vibrated with amusement. Pathetic, he hissed. No shields, no fleet, just infrastructure. His weapons officer, a younger Zapirian with barely hardened chitin, hesitated. Scans show minimal defenses, Battlemaster. But their history, Clickster silenced him with a gesture, history written in defeat. He leaned forward. Fire, the first volley of plasma lances, streaked toward Mars. Elias watched the incoming fire on his display. His lips twitched. Activate Echo Protocol. The plasma bolts passed through the orbital habitats, through the defense platforms, through Mars itself. Sensors screamed. Ghost images flickering like bad holograms. Clickster's mandibles clacked in confusion. What trick is this? Then the real satellites stopped pretending. 100 railgun platforms unfolded from asteroid hides, their barrels, cold, forged in Jupiter's gravity, aligned. Targeting lasers painted the Zapirian fleet in scarlet. Elias keyed the fleet-wide channel. His voice was calm. Welcome to Sol, gentlemen. The railguns fired. Depleted uranium slugs crossed the distance in heartbeats. The first Zapirian destroyer folded like crushed foil. Atmosphere vented in frozen plumes. Clickster's flagship lurched as a round punched through its forward shields, shearing off an engine array. Evasive. Clickster roared too late. The second salvo came, then the third, human missiles, dormant for decades in the asteroid belt. Awoke, their thrusters flared. Guidance systems locked. They wove through the chaos, slamming into Zapirian Point, defense grids. Clickster watched his fleet die. His exoskeleton darkened with shock. This was a trap. On Olympus Mons, Elias leaned back. He tapped a console. The Mars deception grid flickered off, revealing the real defenses, layered orbital forts, their guns still silent. Waiting, a private channel opened. Lieutenant Mei Lin's face appeared, her cybernetic eye whirring as she monitored the belt. Vorac fleet just jumped in behind them, right where we wanted. Elias grinned. Tell the drones to play dead. Below Mars, the Razor's Kiss listed, its hull breached. Clickster struggled to his feet. His remaining officers clustered around him, their exoskeletons dull with fear. Battlemaster, his comms officer whispered. The humans are hailing us. Clickster snarled. Put them through. Elias' face filled the screen. He looked bored. You've got 2 choices, he said. Surrender now, or wait for the Vorac to arrive and then surrender. Clickster's mandibles trembled. You let us hit you. Elias shrugged, had to make it convincing. He leaned closer. See, we knew the Federation wouldn't help, so we prepared. Outside, the Vorac dreadnoughts emerged from FTL, their bioluminescent veins pulsing with bloodlust. They saw the crippled Zapirian fleet, the damaged human stations, and they charged. Clickster closed his eyes. What have we done? Elias ended the transmission. The last thing the Zapirian heard was the human's chuckle. Now watch, Elias murmured to the empty air. How we deal with uninvited guests. The railguns recharged. The Vorac shock fleet tore into the Sol system like a pack of rabid wolves, their bioluminescent warships pulsing with predatory hunger. Warmaster Droth's flagship, the Bone Harvester, led the charge, its jagged prow cutting through the void where the Zapirians had already softened, their prey pathetic. Droth rumbled from his command throne, watching the debris of human satellites drift past his viewport. The Zapirians overestimated them. Look at these primitive defenses. His tactical officer, a younger Vorac with veins glowing crimson, hesitated. Or, Master, Our scans show the belt is littered with wreckage, but the signatures don't match known human vessel classes. Droth snorted, a wet sound that echoed in the chamber. Scavenger craft, mining drones. Humans pick through rocks like carrion birds. He flexed his claws, full assault pattern, burn their pathetic colonies to ash. Deep in the asteroid belt, Lieutenant Mei Lin watched the Vorac armada approach on her tactical display. Her cybernetic eye flickered as it processed the fleet's trajectory, overlaying red vectors across her vision. Around her, the control bunker hummed with quiet activity, human technicians murmuring into headsets, fingers dancing over holographic interfaces. "Confirm all sleeper assets are live," May said, her voice calm. A technician nodded. Railgun platforms primed, drone swarms standing by. "They're taking the bait, Lieutenant, right down the throat." May allowed herself a small smile. The belt had been Earth's shield for over a century, disguised as a graveyard of failed industry. Every derelict mining rig, every abandoned refinery, all of them hiding teeth. The bone harvester fired first. Plasma lances carved into a seemingly defenseless human outpost on Ceres. The station erupted in flames, its death broadcast across the Vorac fleet. Droth's warriors roared in triumph. Then the asteroids moved. What in the abyss? Droth's tactical officer recoiled as the scanners screamed. 1,000 dormant signatures flared to life. The belt reconfigured itself, massive rocks shifting with unnatural precision, revealing hidden gun ports and launch silos. May's voice crackled across the human battlenet. "All units execute Scorched Sky." The first railgun round punched clean through the bone harvester's forward shield array. The impact sent Droth sprawling, his throne cracking beneath him. Alarms wailed as the ship's AI screeched. Gravity anomaly detected. The belt exploded with fire. Railgun rounds the size of skyscrapers tore through Vorac formations. Stealthed drones emerged from camouflaged crevices, swarming like hornets, their plasma cutters slicing through armor seams. Droth hauled himself upright, bile rising in his throat as he watched his fleet disintegrate. "Evade," he bellowed, too late. A technician on May's deck grinned savagely. "They're trying to scatter, Lieutenant." May tapped a command into her console. "Activate Anvil Protocol." The Vorac ships that tried to flee found their engines sputtering. Human gravity mines, hidden for decades, flared to life, dragging them back into the kill zone. Droth's ship shuddered as another railgun round clipped its engines. The War Master snarled, grabbing his comm officer. "Send word to the Federation, the humans." They knew. This was the bone harvester split in half as a tungsten spear the size of a city bus core sampled its reactor. Mady watched the fireball bloom on her screens, the light reflecting in her organic eye around her. The bunker erupted in cheers. She let them have their moment before raising a hand. "Save the celebration," she said. This was just the first wave. Prime the drones for Phase 2. A young ensign blinked. "Phase 2, ma'am." May's smile turned icy. "The ones we let escape." On the edge of the belt, a single Vorac frigate, its engines crippled, its hull bleeding atmosphere, limped toward the system's edge. Its crew didn't notice the tiny tracker that had latched onto their hull during the chaos. Nor did they see the human fleet waiting in the dark. The Galactic News Network studio lights burned too bright, casting eerie reflections across the Zelnara anchor's translucent skin. Her voice modulator trembled as she adjusted her cranial implant. "Breaking news from the Sol system," she announced, her 4-fingered hands gesturing to the holographic display behind her. "Vorac forces have successfully captured human military personnel following their decisive victory at Mars." The screen flickered to show a line of humans in tattered uniforms, their hands bound by energy cuffs. They shuffled through the ruined streets of a Martian outpost, Vorac shock troopers prodding them with plasma rifles. But something was wrong. The prisoners were smiling, grinning. One, a grizzled sergeant with a cybernetic arm, even winked at the camera. These images confirm the complete collapse of human resistance, the anchor continued, her voice wavering. "Vorac war, Master Droth has declared." The feed glitched, static crackled, Then Admiral Kira Vasquez's face filled every screen in the galaxy. Her scar stood out starkly in the dim light of what appeared to be a bunker. "You should have listened," she said, her voice calm. The timestamp in the corner showed the recording was made 3 days before the attack. In the background, a young lieutenant leaned into frame. "Admiral, the Zapirian fleet just crossed the heliopause." "Activate Protocol Lazarus," Vasquez ordered. The feed cut back to the Martian prisoners. Their smiles widened. The sergeant's cybernetic arm split open, revealing a swirling mass of black nanites. The Vorac guards barely had time to scream before the swarm engulfed them. On the bridge of the Vorac flagship, War Master Droth roared as his tactical displays lit up with disaster. "What is happening?" A junior officer's voice cracked. "The prisoners. They weren't human. His words dissolved into a gurgle as the air vents above him spewed black mist. Across every captured human ship, the same scene played out. Nanite swarms poured from air ducts, chewing through bulkheads, disassembling Vorac warriors molecule by molecule. The prisoners dissolved into shimmering clouds that sought out power cores and bridge systems. On the news feed, Vasquez's recorded voice continued. "You thought we'd surrender after Titan, after Proxima?" The image flickered to show rows of identical cybernetic bodies being assembled in an underground facility. "We learned from our defeats." The Vorac dreadnought's engines flared as they tried to flee, but it was too late. The nanites had reached their reactors. One by one, the massive ships blossomed into silent fireballs, their hulls peeling apart like rotten fruit. Back in the studio, the Zelnara anchor collapsed into her chair, her skin cycling through panic colors. The camera panned to her producer, a hulking Brintar whose quills stood straight up. "Cut the feed," he bellowed. But the transmission continued, now showing Admiral Vasquez standing before a star map. Red dots marked every Vorac and Zapirian ship in the Sol system. As the galaxy watched, the dots began blinking out. "You came to our home," Vasquez said. "You fired first." The map zoomed out to show the Milky Way. New dots appeared, hundreds of them, streaking towards Zapirian and Vorac space at impossible speeds. "Now we return the favor." The feed cut to static across 1,000 worlds. Billions of aliens sat in stunned silence, in the ruins of the Martian outpost. The last Vorac warrior clutched his mangled arm as the nanite swarm approached. The sergeant's voice echoed from 1,000 metallic mouths. "Welcome to Earth." Then the screaming started and didn't stop. The Defiance drifted in the black like a corpse. Captain Ryan Blake watched the tactical display with a predator's patience. His knuckles, scarred from a dozen battles, rested lightly on the command console. The ship's bridge was silent, save for the occasional beep of dying systems. Artificial gravity flickered, sending loose datapads floating before they clattered back to the deck. "Damage report," Blake said, voice rough. Lieutenant Cho didn't look up from her station. "Reactors at Fey hull breaches on decks Fey through Fey. Life support failing in." "Keep the theater going," Blake interrupted. His eyes never left the screen. Outside, the Defiance listed to port, trailing atmosphere like a dying whale, bleeding into the ocean. The starboard engine array was dark, deliberately sabotaged hours ago. Wreckage from the battle floated around them, debris from drones rigged to explode convincingly. The Federation Armada arrived in a blaze of golden light. 30 ships, sleek, pristine, untouched by war. Their hulls gleamed under Sol's distant glow. The sigil of the Galactic Federation emblazoned across their bows. They moved in perfect formation, arrogant in their certainty. Blake's lips curled. "Signal from the lead vessel, sir," Comms Officer Ruiz announced. "Federation Admiral Tovik demands our immediate surrender." A chuckle rippled through the bridge crew. Blake didn't join them. He tapped a sequence into his console. The main viewer flickered to life, revealing the face of Admiral Tovik, a Zelnara with skin like frosted glass, his 4 eyes narrowed in contempt. "Human vessel," Tovik intoned. "Your resistance is futile. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Blake leaned back in his chair. "Admiral, funny seeing you here." Tovik's mandibles twitched. This is not a negotiation. Your pitiful fleet is destroyed. Your homeworld cowers behind broken defenses. The Federation has come to mediate this conflict before further bloodshed. Mediate, Blake interrupted. He glanced at Cho. Did he just say mediate? Cho smirked. Sure sounded like it, sir. Tovik's eyes darkened. You will comply, or what? Blake stood slowly. The bridge lights dimmed, casting his scarred face in shadow. You'll talk us to death. Silence. Then Blake tapped his earpiece. Defiance, actual to all units. Execute protocol, midnight. The change was instantaneous. The Defiance's dead engines roared to life, plasma vents burning crimson across the ship, blast doors sealed. The flickering lights stabilized. The damage on the hull vanished. Nanofilament repairs completed in seconds. Tovik's image wavered. What surprise, Blake said. Space rippled from behind the Defiance. Hidden by its bulk and their own perfect timing, the real human fleet emerged. Not the broken remnants the Federation expected. Not the desperate last stand 37 warships, the USN Retribution, the Iron Fist, the Pale Horse. Each one pristine. Each one armed with weapons the Federation had never seen. Tovik's voice cracked. This is impossible. Our scouts confirmed your fleet was scattered, broken. Blake grinned. Yeah, we let you see that. On the tactical display, the Federation Armada's formation wavered. Golden ships scrambled to reorient, their flawless ranks dissolving into chaos. Blake cracked his neck. Helm, bring us about. Weapons full spread. The Defiance turned like a waking dragon. Tovik's image flickered again, his voice rising in panic. You don't understand. The Federation will burn your... You don't mediate with humans, Blake growled. The first railgun round tore through Tovik's flagship like paper. You surrender. The battle lasted 17 minutes. The Federation Armada, so confident, so certain of their superiority, died screaming. Golden hulls cracked under sustained fire. Escape pods jettisoned, only to be caught in the Defiance's tractor beams. Blake watched it all with cold satisfaction. Sir, Ruiz said, we're receiving a general surrender signal from the remaining vessels. Blake didn't smile. Tell them to power down their weapons and prepare to be boarded. A beat, then, softly, Cho muttered. Poetic. Blake turned to the main viewer, now filled with the burning wreckage of the Federation's pride. Send a message to Earth Command, he said. Tell them the trap worked. Outside, the Defiance's engines flared, carrying her toward the broken enemy. The hunt wasn't over yet. The ruins stretched as far as the eye could see. Shattered spires of cobalt alloy jutted from the ground like broken teeth. The sky burned orange with lingering plasma fires, the air thick with the acrid stench of melted metal and charred exoskeletons. Admiral Kira Vasquez stepped over the wreckage of what had once been the Zapirian high seat of power, her boots crunching on fractured bio-ceramic. A faint whirring sound made her turn. Survivor drone HFY hovered just above the ground, its spherical body cracked, one optic flickering weakly. Its voice came in glitching bursts, the synthesized tones distorted with damage. Why did you do this? Kira didn't answer immediately. She reached down, picking up a shattered piece of exoskeleton, a fragment of a mandible, its edges blackened. She turned it over in her palm before letting it fall back to the scorched earth. You attacked us, she said, her voice calm. Twice. The drone wobbled in the air, its stabilizers failing. First strike was Zapirian, not Vorac, not all of us. Kira's scarred cheek twitched. And where was the Federation when the Vorac followed? Where were the protectors of the galaxy when they bombed our colonies? When they marched our people through the streets like trophies? The drones, optic dimmed. We did not act. No, Kira agreed. You didn't. She walked forward, stepping over the remains of a Zapirian war banner, its sigil torn in half. The drone followed, its damaged propulsion system struggling to keep pace. You could have stopped at their fleet, HFY said. You did not need to. come here. Kira paused beside the wreckage of a towering statue. Vexler's likeness now toppled. Its 4 arms snapped off at the joints. She placed a hand on the cold metal. "Do you know what humanity's greatest strength is?" she asked. The drone was silent. "It's not our weapons, not our ships, not even our traps." She turned to face the drone fully. "It's our memory. We remember everything, every betrayal, every broken treaty, every time someone thought we were weak." The wind howled through the ruins, carrying with it the distant groan of collapsing structures. "This was vengeance," the drone whispered. Kira shook her head. "No, vengeance would have been glassing every world that stood by and watched. This," she gestured to the ruins. "This was a lesson." She knelt, her knee pressing into the ash. Covered ground. The drone hovered lower, its cracked shell trembling. Kira reached out, her fingers brushing against its fractured visor. "Because we remember," she said softly. The drone's optic flickered one last time. "Then what now?" Kira stood, dusting off her uniform. "Now you make sure the rest of the galaxy remembers too." Behind her, the last standing spire of the high chamber groaned, then collapsed in a thunderous crash. The sound echoed across the dead city, a final punctuation to the Zapirian Empire. Kira didn't look back. She walked away, leaving the ruins and the drone behind. The wind carried the scent of burning metal, of endings, and of a new era. The rebuilt Galactic Council chamber smelled of fresh polymer and fear. The curved walls, once adorned with the sigils of 100 species, now bore gaping absences where the Zapirian and Vorac emblems had been scorched away. The surviving chancellors sat rigid in their adaptive thrones, their appendages trembling. The air recyclers hummed too loudly in the silence. Admiral Kira Vasquez entered alone. Her boots clicked against the polished floor, the sound echoing like gunshots in the hollow space. The scar across her cheek caught the dim light as she approached the central dais. None of the assembled dignitaries met her gaze. The Zelnara ambassador's translucent skin had dulled to a sickly grey. The Ceralian delegation's floating orbs darted nervously. Even the hulking Grathak warlord, who had once boasted of crushing human colonies, kept his spiked head lowered. Kira stopped before the council table. She reached into her jacket and withdrew a single data crystal. It glinted in her palm like a shard of ice. "This," she said, her voice calm, "is what remains of the Zapirian High Command's last transmission." She set the crystal on the table. A hologram flickered to life above it, a fractured recording of Chancellor Vexler's final moments. His exoskeleton was cracked, leaking blue ichor behind him. The sky burned. "Mercy," the image of Vexler begged, his mandibles quivering. "We surrender. We, the transmission cut off." Kira tapped the crystal again. A new image replaced it. A single word, glowing red against the darkness. "Deterrence." The Grathak warlord flinched. The Ceralian's orbs contracted. "You thought we were weak," Kira said. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "You thought our history of war meant we were broken, that our scars made us prey." She stepped closer to the table. The Zelnara ambassador shrank back. "You were wrong." A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Grathak warlord finally lifted his head. You allowed the first attacks," he rumbled. "You let them think they'd won." Kira's smile didn't reach her eyes. "We didn't just allow it, we invited it." The chamber went utterly still. "Every Zapirian ship that entered Sol system," Kira continued, "was tracked, every Vorac troop deployment analyzed, every Federation vessel that pretended neutrality while watching us burn." She leaned forward. "Logged." The Ceralian ambassador's voice trembled. You knew the Federation wouldn't intervene." Kira straightened. "We knew exactly who would stand by and who would cheer." She tapped the crystal a final time. A star map bloomed above the table, hundreds of systems, each marked with a tiny, pulsing dot. "These," she said, "are the locations of every hidden human outpost, shipyard, and weapons cache outside Sol's system, built over centuries, waiting. The Grathak warlord's bioluminescent veins darkened. You were preparing for this. Kira didn't blink. We remember, Warlord, every species that's ever raised a blade against us. Every betrayal, every moment of hesitation. She turned to leave. The chancellors stared at the star map, at the countless dots glittering like a field of aimed rifles. One of the younger ambassadors, a Tenteri with quivering frills, finally found his voice. Admiral Vasquez, what do you want? Kira paused at the door. She didn't look back. Nothing you can give us, she said softly. Nothing you haven't already taken. The door slid shut behind her in the silence that followed. The data crystal's hologram flickered once more. The word deterrence dissolved, replaced by a new message, one that hadn't been there before. The Grathak warlord was the first to see it. His breath caught. The message was simple: try again. And beneath it, in smaller text, we dare you, the crystal self, destructed with a quiet hiss, leaving only smoke and the scent of ozone. No one in the chamber spoke. No one needed to. And now they understood.